Good morning, everyone. Happy 1st of February. I hope you've had a wonderful month of January. It seems to be everybody's least favourite month of the year, which I can understand. I feel like I haven't seen the sunlight since November, but I really enjoy winter actually. It's my second favourite season after autumn, so I'm really enjoying January. And it was a great month for me. I had a really busy December, and January was just cold and quiet and still, and yeah. And I managed to read a lot of books, which is what I want to talk to you about today in this video, kind of wrapping up January. It was a productive month in terms of reading and writing. I read a total, I'm going to read off my notebook right now. I read a total of 23 books, 18 of which were new and 5 were rereads, which is a lot of new books for me actually. I don't usually read that many new books a month, but I don't know, I felt like it. I'm a complete mood reader, so I never know what I'm going to read next, and it's always a surprise. And yeah, this was a really good month for me actually. I'm 23, slightly more than average I would say. So yeah, in terms of numbers, that was very good. The full breakdown will be 3 Jane Austen rereads. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. 2 historical mysteries, 4 historical fantasy, 10 historical romance, 1 cozy mystery, 2 contemporary romance, and 1 Harry Potter book, which was also my only audiobook. I don't really read that many audiobooks. I mainly read audiobooks when I'm commuting or on my walks. I usually try to do 10k steps a day, including at the weekends, which is very challenging at the weekends actually. I can usually do that on my work days, no problem, because between my commute and my lunch I can usually walk a fair distance, but at the weekend I have to force myself to leave the house and walk, which is far more difficult for me, but I tried to do it, and I actually managed to do well over 10k this month, which was very good. And yeah, so I don't read that many audiobooks, but I did finish Order of the Phoenix. I've had the Harry Potter audiobooks on a loop since, I don't know, many years. So each time I finish Deathly Hallows, I just go back to Philosopher's Stone and start all over again, kind of on a loop. And those are the only audiobooks you can find in my collection permanently. The others I kind of rotate, and it really varies. And I'm very specific with audiobooks as well. I can't really listen to an audiobook when I haven't read the book before. So yeah, it scarcely really makes an appearance on my book lists every month because I just hardly listen to them. But that was very good for Order of the Phoenix. I enjoyed this book a lot actually, and it was fantastic. Stephen Fry is just wonderful, and just being so immersed in the world at the time is absolutely a treat. And I'm actually almost done out with Half-Blood Prince right now, and yeah, it's been joy, it's been wonderful. And I just love being, you know, in my commute and walking and just being completely lost in that world, and just kind of feel like it's enveloping me a little bit. Just kind of, it's complete immersion for me. Audiobooks just feel like a 3D experience, 4D even experience. So yeah, that was a treat. So as said before, I read 3 Jane Austen books. One of my goals this year is to focus on specific writers who I really like, and try to really complete their whole bibliography or reread all of their books because I love them so much. And Jane Austen is one of them. I love all of her books so much. I think she wrote 6 of the best novels really ever. And although I do have my favourites, I love rereading them every so often. And this time around actually I blocked about 2 of them. I blocked about Persuasion and Pride and Prejudice in detail, so just posting my notes and my quotes, my favourite quotes on my blog, magicalemmarose.com. and that was really special actually, just taking time. That was one of my intentions for this year, just taking time to read more slowly and more intentionally, and meaning that, you know, slowing down to really appreciate the books that I'm reading, and making time to take notes and to keep a collection of my favourite quotes and favourite passages and my thoughts. And I did that twice this month for Northanger, oh, well, yeah, for Pride and Prejudice and Persuasion, and I did not make time for Northanger Abbey, although it is one of my favourite books by Jane Austen as well, so 2 out of 3 is not too bad, I think. But I really loved doing that, really. It was actually, they were my first 2 books of the year, so I started the year with Pride and Prejudice. That was my first book of January 1st, and then I went on to read Persuasion, and it's really, it's interesting actually to read them in, just back to back like that, because it highlights their differences and their similarities, obviously. And yeah, I just really enjoy the contrast between the 2, and also just you do start to see a pattern in Jane Austen's writing and her heroines in particular, and the way that she writes relationships and her secondary characters, and who is the villain and who is more comic relief and that sort of thing. And I loved it so much, and I loved writing those 2 posts so much. That was a huge highlight. Another one of the favourite books I read this month actually was a huge surprise to me, was something called Miss Amelia's List by Mercedes Lackey. Oh, sorry, sorry, just going back to Jane Austen just for a minute here. I just wanted to show you the editions that I've got right here. So I've got the Penguin cloth bound edition. So this is Pride and Prejudice, which I read this month, and this is really sturdy actually. I've had this box set for a while. I used to have, I think, 3 editions of Pride and Prejudice on my shelves, but I only have one I only have one I can't speak today. It's about 9 in the morning. I'm still tired, but yeah, I used to have 3 of them, 3 editions of Pride and Prejudice, and I only have one now, which is this one right here, the Penguin cloth bound. But I do really like it. It's really sturdy, and I love the paper as well and the writing. But yeah, just really nice copy. Do enjoy it. I used to have an annotated edition of Pride and Prejudice, but I just, yeah, I had to let it go in one of my many moves. I do regret it sometimes actually, because I would have loved to have an annotated edition on my shelves. I do have this edition of Little Women by Chronicle Books, actually created by Barbara Heller, which I love so much. This one is all, oh, it's not annotated, but it's got extras, it's got letters of and messages which I mentioned in the story, and I do like this kind of format for a book, for an annotated book. This one is, again, is not annotated, but it's kind of format that I love, but it takes so much space on the shelves, and I don't have much space here at all, even though those shelves are there. They're meant for decorating and not for bookkeeping, so book storing. So yeah, I would have loved to have the I know that they have Persuasion and Pride and Prejudice in this edition, but yeah, I just didn't really have space for it. So this is Pride and Prejudice. I read Persuasion in this lovely edition. Did you know, by the way, that both Pride and Prejudice and Persuasion take place in the autumn, but this feels like a spring book to me. Pride and Prejudice and Persuasion very much feels like an autumn book to me. There's even a description of autumn, actually. I talk about that on my blog, but Anne actually describes autumn in the book. This is an autumnal book, a second trans book, obviously, and yeah. And Northanger Abbey, which I know that a lot of people don't consider to be a favourite. Actually, I don't know of anyone else who considers this a favourite Jane Austen novel. It's one of my favourites, actually. I don't know if I could rank all 3 of them. I started with my 3 favourites, and then I'm going to move on to the rest. But yeah, I love Northanger Abbey, and I need to go back and do the same that I did for Persuasion, Pride and Prejudice, and do blog post about Northanger Abbey, my favourite quotes, my thoughts, my notes. I thought it was just so funny and very endearing. I love the relationship in this, actually, and even though I think the plot is less complex than for Persuasion and Pride and Prejudice, because you do know exactly, I think you know more than Catherine in this book what's going on with Isabella and John Thorpe. I think you realise what's going on before her, which is probably why people don't like this book as much, because the heroine is not as clever, I think, and as I don't know, as yeah, as clever and as, I don't know, aware of her surroundings and of people around her. She's not as good as reading people, is what I mean, as maybe Elizabeth and Anne. But I just love this book so much. It's just so light and so So funny. I do love it very, very much, and it's very yeah, I just really love it. I love Bath in this. I love how Catherine experiences like almost a season. It's just, it feels very fresh. It feels very even though it's Northanger Abbey, it's a gothic parody. It feels very fresh and very spring to me as well. So really enjoy that. Yes, that was the 3 Jane Austens I read this month. Moving on to Miss Amelia's List by Lackey, which is a historical fantasy. It's actually the 17th book in the Elemental Masters series, which is completely odd. Actually, I've never read anything by Lackey before. I was aware of her, obviously. I've been aware of her for, I don't know, decades or something, but I never picked up one of her books because she has a huge backlist, and she just felt intimidating to me. And I have a very, my threshold for violence is very, very low, and I need very little content warnings in my books to be able to enjoy them. And I need something just light and fresh and frothy and fun. And so I didn't know if her books would be for me. I never knew really. I never give it a try. Perhaps I should have, because I saw that in Miss Amelia's List was going to be published, and I put it on my wish list because I knew that it had magic set in the Regency. That's all I needed to know. It was the 17th book in the series, but they're all standalones. They all kind of share the same magical world, but they are all standalones. I think at least this one was. I never felt like I was missing out on anything else. But it was wonderful. It's about Amelia with her lady companion. They come over to the Americans, and Serena, I think she's called, and they call Selena. They come to England to enjoy a social season, and Miss Amelia has got a list of things she has to go through. Her family owns different companies in the US which specialise in fabrics and dyes, and she comes over to England to kind of expand their business. And she also comes to find a husband for her friend, and she's got magic. She's an elemental master, and she can kind of control the elements. I'm going to tell you what, but it's very fun actually to read about. And her friend is a shapeshifter as well. So they've got magic going on. There's political intrigue having to do with the other elemental masters and the differences between England and America. And there's also a lot to do with the season as an event, really. And what I love the most about this book is that 90% of the book really is full of domestic details about the Regency and how everything was organised. Amelia and Selena, coming from America, don't know anything about social conventions in England in the Regency, and so everything has to be explained to them. So they're taken in by their brother, James, and his friends in England, and they explain everything to them. And it was a treat actually to have that much detail about the Regency in a book. Usually authors just gloss over lots of aspects, entire pans of the Regency period, but this had everything. If you go somewhere, you know exactly what the terrain is like, you know exactly what kind of vehicle you're going to take, what it's going to take to work that vehicle, and every single detail about your dresses, about where you eat, how servants work, their wages, how you pay them, should you tip them, if a character entered the room, it was going to be described in every single detail as well. It felt incredibly immersive, and it just spent time on things that I love, just a list of materials and things and colours and sounds and tastes and smells and everything. It was incredibly immersive, and I absolutely loved this book. It actually gave me the same feeling that the Ladies Occult Society series gave me, which is one of my favourite series ever. It's Fantasy of Manners, also Fantasy of Manners, focusing on, which has very little magic, and it's just focuses on the eldest daughter of a curate, I think, and she has to take care of her entire family, and there are lots again of domestic details and endless list about everything to do with the Regency and how to manage a household. And this has yeah, and this really Miss Amelia's Days really reminded me of that as well. It was absolutely wonderful. I already have this in my cart actually for next month. I already have this in my Amazon trolley for next month to buy, because I would like to copy for my shelves. Actually, I read this on Kindle, I think on release day, and yeah, I would like to, absolutely like to have a copy for myself. So it was the 17th book in the series, and now I've got 16 books to go through in the series. So I bought on Kindle, I bought The Serpent's Shadow, which is the first book in the series, and I put it on my Kindle, and it takes place in the Edwardian era, so also a favourite era of mine. So I'm very, very excited about this series and about this author, really. So yeah, this has no content warning whatsoever. It's pure fluff, and yeah, I absolutely loved it. I can't believe what a gem it is. I'm so happy I found it just out of nowhere. Next up, I read 2 books in the Sebastian Sincere series, which is a historical mystery series that takes place in the Regency, with a titled hero, and but he visits kind of unsavory places in society very much, and he's kind of more of a physical hero, really. He has an intellect, obviously, he has a bright intellect, but he also visits a lot of places which are not for the aristocracy. He there is an overarching plot, so I don't want to reveal too much, but in those 2 books, so When Mermaids Sing and Where Serpents Sleep, are I think 4 and 5 in the series, something like that, and he is accompanied by a lady called Hero, who was actually the daughter of his arch enemy in the books. So it was very interesting actually that she got involved, and I absolutely love her, and the relationship develops very much in those books in quite surprising way, I have to say, quite surprising ways, I have to say. But I really enjoyed that. It becomes more and more immersive the more you read. So I think the first book had, to my taste, not enough details about the Regency. Again, I love to be immersed in the historical periods which I'm reading about. The more detail, the better. But as you go on and as you read more and more, each book has more details and more. This one in particular, well, these 2 in particular, had a lot of political intrigue, which I love when it's set in the past. And yeah, it was really good. I can't wait to read the next books in the series. It's got 20 books, I think, with one coming up this year. I think soon. I won't be able to catch up before then, but I'll read as many as I can before then. I've got the next. I purchased the next 2 my Kindle, I think. Yeah, so I can't wait. Next, my favourite reads really this month were historical romance. But this was a huge month for historical romance. Obviously, I read 10 books in historical romance, which is huge for me. I would say a beginner in historical romance. Really, it's my newer genre. So I didn't read historical romance before, I think, 2019, something like that, and I just came to it through, well, my first binge author really was Lisa Kleypas and Tessa Dare. So my first 2, and still my favourites actually, are Lisa Kleypas and Tessa Dare, and I just kind of don't read as many books in that genre because I'm still learning what I like in that genre. I'm still learning who writes the kind of books that I really enjoy and who to look for books that I am going to love. So yeah, so I found a series in historical romance which is exactly for me. You know, this kind of feeling when you read something and you feel, wow, this was written for me, this is exactly something for me, it has got all of the tropes that I love, this has got the writing that I love, it feels like a wink to me. It should be dedicated to me even, and that's how I felt about Sophie Laporte's Merry Spinsters, Charming Rogues, which is a very light, very frothy, very fun and funny historical romance series. It's got, let's see, I think Miss Ludmila's accidental letter, Ava, I think it's got 4 books, or 5 books even, and all of them are absolutely wonderful. I'm always bracing myself when I read a series, just in case the next book is not as good as the one I've read before, but this one just enchanted me so much. It surprised me in the best way. It's got so many twists and turns, and it stays completely light and fun. So it's about spinsters, definitely, and charming rogues, and the tagline is "Merry spinsters, charming rogues, and nobody is as they seem," which is very true. Every book has got one or many twists on mistaken identities and that sort of thing, and it's absolutely wonderful. So for example, the first book, Miss Ludmila's Accidental Letter, has got a spinster, Miss Ludmila, who is writing to a pen pal whom she developed a very close relationship with and who she considers her best friend, but she has never met him. And she meets him one day, and he turns out to be the most rakish the most rakish man in the world. But is he? That's the tagline, really. That's the plot. And I'm not going to reveal too much, but it seems flimsy, but it's absolutely wonderful, and there are many twists in the book. It's also very warm and very romantic sort of series as well. It's got so many good lines and endless lists of food and just lovely things and cozy things. And Miss Ava's book, for example, has got an actress, well, not an actress, an opera singer, pretending to be, to not be an opera singer, pretending to be herself, and just hiding her identity as an opera singer for everybody with wigs and paint and all sorts of things. So you're supposed to believe that no character actually recognises her, and the hero falls for the opera singer without knowing that she's actually both people. That's really, really fun, and it's got absolutely endearing secondary characters as well. Just wonderful. Oh gosh, this is such a wonderful series, such a wonderful series. There's also a story about a woman who is actually the poor relation, and when her family just leaves abruptly, she has got the estate to herself, but she can't actually stay in the estate, and she has to move on to the next relative who needs her. That's her job, so to speak. But she stays, and she makes a list of all the things that she wants to do that she has never got to do. So, you know, go to a ball, attend a season, be kissed, that sort of thing. And she enlists the help of her butler to help her. And he turns out to be a very great help indeed. And you've got another story about Louisa, who has rejected 100 proposals, and nobody really knows why, until her father actually gives her an ultimatum that she's going to have to marry the next man she sees. And it turns out that she has to marry a costermonger, and she does. And it's hilarious and profound and just so good. It feels like Shakespeare, it feels like George Hare, it feels like Jane Austen, and oh my god, this series, honestly. This is my next buy for sure in physical form. This is on Kindle Unlimited, that's how I read it, and I'm going to buy the physical copies straight away, really. And the next one is coming this year as well. I hope this series never ends. It is so good, so funny, and exactly what I want to read. So yeah, Merry Spinsters, Charming Rogues. And the best news that Sofi Laporte actually wrote many other books besides that, so I can't wait to read them all. The next on my list is the Wishing Well series, so yeah, can't wait. I'm so excited to have found a best series for me, a favourite series for me, and potentially a favourite author, we'll see, but at least a favourite series. So exciting, you have no idea. Something else which I read, which I really enjoyed as well, is the Halifax Hellions series by Alexandra Vasti. She's also a historical romance writer. The books were a mixed bag, I would say, in this series, but they all have elements which I really enjoyed. It's about twin sisters called Margot and oh wow, I can't remember the second sister's name, but anyway, twin sisters who kind of are the rebels of society, really. They go into all sorts of scandals, and because they're titled, they're never really shunned for it, so they just go as far as they can and to see what they get away with, until one day one of the sisters elopes, and her sister Margot, her twin sister Margot, enlists the help of her brother's best friend Henry to rescue her sister who has eloped, because she's afraid that she's going to marry against her will, that something is afoot, and romance ensues. And it's funny, it's very, very sexy, it's romantic, it's really, really good. I loved those books so much. Alexandra Vasti has got a very, I would say, contemporary, fast-paced style of writing, but she writes for agency so perfectly, and God, I really loved her. I really loved her books. And the last book, for example, the second book is really, really good as well, and about her sister who eloped, and her relationship. And I can't say too much about it really, because the relationship itself is a huge spoiler, but yeah, she's an artist, and she's going to she gets into trouble because of her artistic skills, and she has to make up for it. And the third book is about a businesswoman, actually, who is called Winnie, and who, in order to set her business, she made up a husband with a completely made up name, in order to, you know, to have a loan and to set her business, because as a woman, as an independent woman, she couldn't have them on her own. Until one day, the twin sister's brother, Spencer, shows up, because he's got this name that she made up. Actually, it's a real person. She made up a name of a person who actually does exist. It's him, and he shows up asking for an explanation of why he's suddenly married to her out of nowhere, even though he has never met her. So in the eyes of the law, they are married, because she made him up and actually he exists. It's hilarious. I mean, the premise is hilarious, and I loved that. I love that she's really passionate about her business. I loved that she's got a past as well. I mean, there are many layers to these books, and that's what I love about them. Actually, they don't have just one plot. They have several plots which you have to, which are just very interesting, actually, and you visit all kinds of corners of society because of it, and it's very interesting. Yeah, and I love the amount of details in these books as well. So the Halifax Hellions by Alexandra Vasti. I also ended up reading The Chemistry of Familiar Objects by her, which is an enemies lovers office romance, sort of. So they both have the heroine and the hero both have a business in the same building, and they can't stand each other until one day she buys the building out of spite, yeah, so you can see how that goes from here, and it was absolutely wonderful. Again, it's a novella, and it's got all sorts of things, just lots of adventures actually in that one as well, which you don't expect. And yeah, and that was wonderful as well. She has got a new series, actually, which has got one book called Never Do Well, and the second one, Earl Crash, just released, and I bought it as well. I didn't enjoy Never Do Well as much as the others, but I still purchased the second book, Earl Crash, just to see if I liked it better. But yeah, definitely an author I would like to follow, since I've read all of her backlist by now. Actually, she hasn't written that many. Next up is a complete surprise to me, is that I found a contemporary romance series that I really, really love. It's rare for me, actually. I don't read much contemporary romance, even though I should, because all of the ones I've read actually I've really enjoyed. But it takes, again, it's a new, romance as a whole is a newer genre for me, I would say. So it takes me a little while to find books which I really enjoy, because I'm not as familiar with the authors or the tropes or anything. But I was wanting to read a small town contemporary romance, something which would make me feel like Heart of Dixie, which is my food show, Heart of Dixie all over again. So I went on Reddit, actually, and on they've got all sorts of lists having to do with different tropes and different spice levels and different sorts of things, and I looked for a small town romances. I did a search for small town romances, and the Bootleg Springs series by Claire Kingsley and Lucy Score came up, and I love it, absolutely love it. Bootleg Springs is a small town, and it's got very much its own character, its own traditions, its secondary characters which you see from book to book, and it's got, I think, 6 books out and it's completely finished. And each book focuses on one member of the Bodine family, who which is comprised of mainly brothers and one sister, Scarlet. And Scarlet has got the first book, Whiskey Chaser, and oh my god, I completely fell in love with this book. Actually, Scarlet, who is a tomboy, she is a handyman for the town, and she has got such a huge personality. She doesn't take no for an answer. What she wants she gets, that sort of person, which I love reading about. And she is like that, and she falls for Devlin, who is a lawyer of all people, and who comes to a small town from the big city, and he comes after her in the midst of his divorce, and somehow they just meet and fall in love, and it's really sexy and very, very compelling. I could not put this book down. It was so good. And again, the small town, all the characters become part of a whole that you want to go back to over and over again. And there is an overarching mystery. Actually, there's a cold case which was never resolved in the town, and there are clues given in every single book, which keeps you reading as well. I love this series so much. And I said before, actually, it's about two authors, Lucy Score and Claire Kingsley, and they alternate writing the books. So Lucy Score has got the first book about Scarlet, Lucy Kingsley got the second book about Bowie, and I enjoyed this one a lot. Bowie falls for model, actually, a model who is from Bootleg Springs, but she made it big actually. Now she's a celebrity, but he still remembers her from his childhood. They were best friends when they were children. So it's a childhood sweethearts, sort of a trope, and you know, who reconnect as adults, and that was very sweet. I didn't love it as much as the first book. I think just Scarlet is my favorite character, I think, but I still loved it actually. And again, just the characters, just seeing them and just following their lives, and yeah, it's a family, you know, it's a found family kind of feeling. So I love that, absolutely love that, and I can't wait to read the rest of the books. It's also on Kindle Unlimited, and potentially new favourite authors as well. We'll see. I'll explore their backlist at some point as well. So excited about that. I reread Sorcery and Cecelia, which is for me the quintessential Fantasy of Manners book. It's the first in a trilogy, and it's my favourite in the trilogy, about two best friends who are separated in the Regency. Actually, they're separated by the London season, so one of them goes to enjoy all the delights of the season in London, and one of them stays in the countryside, and they exchange letters. And it's an epistolary novel, a Regency of Manners, a Fantasy of Manners. So there's magic involved. It's very light, very frothy, very gossipy, very fun, and they fall in love each, you know, in their own way. They fall in love with well, different people, actually, very different people, and there's magic involved, and enchanted teapots, and people turned into trees, and all sorts of things, and it's very funny, very fun. And just fast-paced, gossipy fun. I adored this book. It was pure delight. And last but not least, I loved The Bachelor's Valet by Arden Powell, which is a historical fantasy novella. It wasn't very long at all. That was so sweet. It read like Peachy Woodhouse. It read like a Jeeves fanfic. It's actually kind of a dimwit and valet relationship in what feels to me like maybe the 50s or something. So we've got this main character called Alphonse, who is absolute dimwit. He's lovely, but he's not very bright, and his family has been pestering him to marry. So he ends up actually engaged to Alia Cador, who is a feisty, kind of wonderful, just larger than life female character whom he desperately needs in his life. And yeah, so he's engaged to her, and his whole life really he has been helped and managed really by a Jeeves-like character, his valet, called Jacobite. And Jacobite is absolutely wonderful. Not Jacobite, yeah, Jacobi, sorry, Jacobi. And Jacobi is absolutely wonderful. He just, you know, manages everything in his life and organises his life and puts him on the right path for everything. So he's engaged to Alia, but he might be developing feeling for Jacobi, and that's where it goes from there. And it is such a sweet story. There's hardly any magic in it at all. It's got touches of lovely magic, and more at the end actually, kind of interesting magic at the end having to do with dreams. But it's lovely. It's got potions and just magic to beautify things, and absolutely lovely. Just, yeah, and it's very much, again, it's very much a found family. This book made me feel so happy and so full of love, and God, it is such a feel-good book, such a comfort book, a balm for the soul for sure. And the Jeeves fanfic you never knew you needed, really. So it's really a lavender marriage, and everybody is deeply happy with this found family, and yeah, absolutely loved it. Very quickly, apart from books, I really enjoyed revisiting all of my favourite screwball comedies. So I'm rewatching all of my favourite screwball comedies as we speak, and it has been an absolute joy to revisit them. I watched My Favourite Wife, about a wife who disappears, and after 7 years I think her husband can remarry, so he remarries, except his wife just reappears again. It's a comedy, it's a screwball comedy. It's got Cary Grant, it's got Irene Dunn, and God, it's so lovely, and their relationship is just so lovely, even though it's clearly bigamy. But and yeah, you could argue that it's also cheating, but it's just so lovely. They're reconnecting, and their witchy banter, and how they try to make each other jealous, and how she tries not to disturb her children by telling them who she really is, and absolutely loved it. I also rewatched Libeled Lady, which stars William Powell, Myrna Loy, Jean Powell, and it's a bonkers plot really, but he is hired to kind of make a libel case disappear by, it's a bonkers plot. You'll have to see it, but it works, and it's got many absolutely hilarious scenes. And even though William Powell and Jean Harlow were actually together in real life at the time, he ends up with Myrna Loy, and I think that's just hilarious, really. The actors are just wonderful, and Myrna plays the socialite so well. The rich heiress so well. It was made for her, really. Speaking of Myrna and William Powell, I re-watched all of the Thin Man films, which are amongst my favourite films ever. They are comedy mystery films about Nick and Nora, who are a duo detective, wife and husband, New York socialites who just go about investigating and sleuthing everything around them. She's a rich heiress, he's just a detective really, who enjoys his drink and his cigars and the New York high life, and every single film has got a mystery, but every single film has got their banter and their witchy banter and their marriage, which is so funny. And I've always wanted a marriage like that, and it's actually the kind of relationship that I've got with my boyfriend. So I'm just so happy. Actually revisiting them has made me feel so I don't know, it has made me feel so grateful for what I've got, really, because my entire life I've been watching these movies thinking, oh my God, I wish I had a relationship like that. And realising I've got it now is just such a joy. Yeah, so I absolutely adore them. I also watched all of the new Hallmark films this year. So Hallmark released 1, 2, 4 films, I think. 4 films under the Winter Escape banner, I would say, in January, so one every week, and I watched all of them. There was let's see if I can remember, The Perfect Setting, about the diamond industry in Antwerp. So a girl who is working actually for a big company, a big jewellery company, and she goes back to Antwerp to work for her smaller business, for the smallest family's business, actually having to do with jewellery in Antwerp, and she falls in love. And The Perfect Setting, polar opposites, in which a woman whose father works with penguin in the Arctic goes missing, and she goes and rescues him and falls in love in the process. My Argentine Heart, about a woman who goes back to try and rescue a ranch in Argentina, and she falls in love with the process. And Love of the Irish, in which a mother and daughter go back to Ireland to uncover, I suppose, secrets, family secrets, and she falls in love with the process. Well, one of them falls in love with the process. My favourite, I think by far, was The Perfect Setting, because it was funny, it was sharp, it was fast-paced. I loved it, and I loved jewellery. That was a huge theme in that, and even though none of it was realistic, it's Hallmark, I didn't care. It was very fun. There was a diamond competition at some point. It was very, very good. I really enjoyed it. That was my favourite, The Perfect Setting. Number 2 would be Polar Opposites, which I really enjoyed as well, even though the plot was so bonkers. I really enjoyed the chemistry between the two leads. I thought they were really good together, and their dates and romantic scenes were very good, I thought, and she was endearing. It was a very endearing sort of story. And My Argentine Heart and Love of the Irish just did not do it for me, but I was glad that I saw them anyway, especially in Argentina. Actually, I thought it was a pet project for both the actors, actually. I think the actress is Argentinian, and going back there to film a Hallmark movie was very big for her, which I'm very happy about. But yeah, that was very good. I can't wait for the rest of the year. Well, on Hallmark, really, I've been watching, of course, season 12 of When Calls the Heart, which has been absolute joy. Loving it so much. It's my favourite season so far. I say that every year, but it's true that it's become better and better. So love Elizabeth and Nathan, love the town, love the 20s, love how fun it is. There's dancing involved, there's kissing, there's teenagers having actual stories for a while, for change. I can't be sick anymore, for change. Yeah, just absolutely wonderful. I love When Calls the Heart. I'm also watching Father Brown at the moment, one episode every week. Absolutely gorgeous. I love this TV show so much. Yeah, and I took a historical dancing class this month as well, which was absolutely wonderful. So we danced a quadrille and polka, and it was a 3-hour workshop, and I went, and I'm a very introverted person, so being in social in social events is not really my thing, but I love dancing, and I've been wanting to go to this workshop forever, and finally going was just absolutely wonderful. I should have gone sooner, and I've really want to join regular classes. It comes September, we'll see, but that's the plan anyway. Yeah, so what am I reading at the moment? I am reading Mystic and Wrede by Sharon Shin, which is the first book in the 12 Houses series, and you might remember this actually because this is the last series that I read in December. So I reread all 5 books of this historical fantasy series in December, and I'm already craving a reread, and it's the 1st of February. Can you believe it? This tells you just about how much I love, how much I love these books, really, because I'm craving going back to them. And it's one of my favourite series ever, about a group of 6 friends who visit the entire country of Gilangaria to see if there's unrest and a civil war which is happening, or which is in the making or not. So they visit every single house. This is called 12 Houses series because the kingdom's actually separated into different houses, different regions, and they visit everything and everyone to try and see if there's political unrest. And their friendship is the best part of these books, and the friendship and the warmth and the list of foods that they eat, and it's a road trip kind of book, but oh my god, I love it so much. And there's a romance per book, so each of the 6 companions are going to have is going to have a romance of his or her own. And yeah, the 5 books are very much, the first 4 books are very much one story, I would say. One story about revolution, rebellion. It's still cozy. It's not a lot of content warnings though, but it's never too much. It's never super gruesome. There is violence, there is death. All of the 6 friends are completely happy and safe, no worries, none of them are harmed in the process. But the last book for me is where the story truly shines, because it's a post-war book about a domestic story in the kingdom restored, and god, it's wonderful. It's called Fortune and Fate, and for this alone you have to read the entire series. Actually, the first and second book feature more heavily. I would say the first book is very much Seneth's story. She's a very gifted what they call mystic, but she's a very gifted woman with incredible powers and love and friendship, and she's a very generous woman. She's amazing. She's one of my favorite female characters ever. The second book is about Kira, who is one of my favorite female characters ever too. She's gorgeous and a born aristocrat who has incredible empathy and healing powers and shifting powers, and their friendship with Justin Cameron, Donald and Tace is just one of my favourite things in my life, really. So I just go back to these books over and over when I need to just hang out with my friends. So yeah, very, very happy right now. I'm going to make myself another cup of tea, try to wake up properly. I had one this morning, but clearly that wasn't enough. It's starting to clear now. There's a bit more sun outside, so hopefully the lighting is better. And yeah, I hope you've had a fantastic month of January. I don't know what you've got planned for February. I never plan anything because I never stick to anything, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I hope you have a fantastic weekend at the very least, and I will see you soon. Bye.